Live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
600 days of campaigning, and it all comes down to tonight. We are live in Detroit as the voters head to the polls.
And from Wayne County to Oakland, the stakes are high for each and every person casting their ballot as they determine who should lead our country for the next 4 years.
This is Election Day in America. The road to decision 2016 finally comes to an end tonight. And we're getting close to crunch time. Just about 3 hours left now to go before the polls close here in very important today to the national process, Michigan. And we've got you covered. Long lines today in Metro Detroit and a lot of campaigns now anxiously awaiting for the results.
Did you vote today?
I did.
I certainly have too. Rhonda Walker is live in New York at NBC Election Headquarters. Hank Winchester is live outside Chrysler Elementary in Detroit as voters head to the polls.
Let's start things off here at 5 with Guy Gordon. Guy, a lot of people clearly want their voices heard today.
Oh, they sure do, Devin. We're talking to the Michigan Secretary of State. She says absentee votes were up 18%. That is predictive of perhaps a record turnout statewide. Macomb County, way up. The western part of Ann Arbor, 2-hour-long waits in some cases, and that seems to hold true in some cases in Oakland County. In Detroit, though, a much different story. Only 30% voted as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, so we'll have to see a late surge to make that 45 to 50% predicted turnout in Detroit, but we know it is much lower than in 2012 when Barack Obama was running for president. The nominees, they hit the pavement early, going to their respective polling places, fresh off their last-minute visits to Michigan, and things were much kinder and gentler than they were on the campaign trail. In Chappaqua, New York, Hillary Clinton arrived with the former president calling it a humbling experience.
You know, I know how much responsibility goes with this, and so many people are counting on the outcome of this election.
I am your future president.
After patronizing a boys' bake sale, the Republican nominee joined his wife and daughter casting his ballot.
Tough decision. Great opportunity. There's tremendous enthusiasm from everybody. You see it all over the country.
Meantime, in Nevada, the Trump campaign is suing the Clark County registrar, saying voters who were not in line when polls closed on the last night of early voting were still allowed to vote. A judge rejected the request to isolate ballots. It happened in a largely Hispanic district, leading Trump critics to cry intimidation.
There's no intimidation. There's no suppression. This is a lawsuit about the rules of the game.
Will there be more challenges? We will be tracking that along with 600 other races tonight, overnight, and into tomorrow morning here at clickondetroit.com. At 7 p.m. we begin our live webcast. We will be looking at why Michigan voted the way it did. We'll also be tracking a lot of other big legislative races. Can the Republicans maintain control of the Michigan House? We have the Wayne County millage, community benefits in Detroit, a new school board in Detroit, and also that very important regional transit vote, which could have a much bigger impact than a lot of the other races. We'll be watching it all for you, Devin, beginning live at 7 p.m., and I know you're going to be joining us. We'll look forward to that.
Absolutely right. Exciting night for political junkies like Guy and I, that's for sure. All right, Guy.
We're all political junkies on election night. In other news, Washtenaw Sheriff's deputies are investigating after a fight broke out at a polling place in Ypsilanti Township.
It started out as a disagreement between two women and escalated into violence.
Stop! Get out of here. Hold on, what? Get your You didn't need to call him that, though. Get out! Don't touch her! Just don't touch her!
This fight occurred outside the Moose Lodge on Stony Creek Road. The two women, one a Clinton supporter, the other a Trump supporter, got into this argument after voting. One man got between the two, shoved one of the women. Police were called. Things did finally calm down. No one was arrested, no one seriously hurt, but it tells you how contentious this
people
pattern has been. Yep. Besides that incident in Ypsilanti, though, happy to say things have been running relatively smoothly at the polls.
And that's good news. Let's take a live look at pictures. This is Crossroads Church on Welch Road in Commerce Township. We're told voter turnout has been strong there all day long. Let's get to Hank Winchester. He is live at Chrysler Elementary in Detroit tonight. Hank, so far so good, right?
Absolutely, Carmen. Devin, a few minor glitches reported all across Metro Detroit, a few of the machines breaking down but being replaced rather quickly. We're here at Chrysler Elementary School in Detroit. Now, here this morning, very long lines, some people frustrated and they left. Right now, though, things are moving very smoothly. Take a look at some video that we shot across from Metro Detroit. In fact, right now, I want to give you a live look inside our phone bank, and here's why. We have volunteers in position right now answering your calls. If you happen to make your way out to vote and you notice some issues, if there are glitches, if the machines are down, we want to hear from you because we want to work to make sure those problems are corrected and you have an opportunity to vote. The number you call is 313-298-WDIV. I also want to give you a look at voting and how it's been working out in other districts and other polling areas across Metro Detroit. We talked with the director of the NAACP. He says no reports of any voter intimidation, only reports of long lines, which is a good sign. But unfortunately, some of those lines caused because a few of the machines were breaking down early this morning. Right now, though, things moving smoothly. Working smoothly. We did talk with one voter, though, who got bounced around to a few different locations. The volunteers unable to tell him which precinct he was supposed to be voting at. As you can imagine, he was quite frustrated. Here's what he had to say.
I walked all the way down there and then turned around and came back down here.
Because they said you were at the wrong location again.
Exactly. And came back down here. So I just went in there and they told me I had to go all the way on Hubble and Finkel.
So this will be your third location now?
Yes.
And computers were down at his first location, which is why he walked to the second one. But I'm happy to report he eventually did vote and walked to that final location. Just shows you the importance of voting and how important that is. Of course, it's going to be a very busy night, not only here in Metro Detroit, but also in New York City. That's where the Clinton and Trump teams are based this evening. That's also where Local 4 anchor Rhonda Walker is at Democracy Plaza this evening, watching all the national election numbers come in this evening. Rhonda, very exciting there tonight, I'm sure.
Oh, it is certainly exciting. And honestly, the excitement is just starting to begin here at Democracy Plaza, where this unprecedented experience of watching the election returns come down will happen right behind me on the ice here at Rockefeller Center and up the side of the building of Rockefeller Center. But as we are watching those returns come in, we're also thinking about how unprecedented this election has been. Certainly you at home can think about moments that you remember that you thought, wow, I have never seen anything like this in the presidential campaign. Some of those moments more pivotal than others, and some could be the determining factor in the outcome of this election for both candidates.
This is the election where everything that we thought we knew about American politics, about presidential campaigns, about how all of this works, just piece by piece, just sort of shattered in front of us. And new rules have kind of been created on the spot, new sort of traditions, new customs, new practices, new ways of doing this.
The word unprecedented gets thrown around a great deal when we describe this election. It has been controversial, volatile, and contentious. But was it a true reflection of the race?
This campaign overall was the craziest that I've ever covered. So many ups and downs, so many crazy narratives. But one thing that was always striking to me was how stable the race was. When you look at the polling between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, it was always usually around the same. Maybe some dips and ups and downs a little bit, but for the most part, it was very stable.
So now we wait for all the votes to be cast and counted, and the candidates are left to wonder if they did everything they could to win.
With Trump, if he comes up short, and if Hillary Clinton wins because of, say, Florida and Nevada, which is the power of the Latino vote, then we'll say that Donald Trump lost this election on the very first day he announced, when he said what he said about Mexicans. With Hillary Clinton, if she comes up short, it'll all be due to that homebrew server, that she never got that email story somehow out of the voter's mind.
And so now we wait for all the election returns to come in here at Democracy Plaza. So Local 4 is the place to be all night long, and I'll be here right here to bring it all to you. Live from New York, I'm Rhonda Walker. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Ron. This is going to be really neat to see how the states
fall together,
exactly whether they're
right.
going to be blue or whether they're going to be red, and then ultimately select the new president.
And rest assured, we will keep revisiting the top story of the day, this election day here, throughout this next 90 minutes of news. But we are following other news this evening, including scary moments in Madison Heights as a car slammed into a home.
And that was just the beginning. That crash then caused both the car and the home to catch fire. Let's bring in Jermont Terry. He joins us now at the house on Barrington Street. It's amazing no one was hurt, Jermont.
Yeah, Carmen, amazing may be an understatement, especially when you look at the damage of this house. It's destroyed. And to make matters worse, a man was literally thrown from his couch when this car came careening inside. An orange glow lit the sky on Barrington off 11 Mile in Madison Heights. Bill Williamson could feel the heat from the ball of fire and much more.
Then they're watching TV, heard a big bang, and my house exploded. Looked up and saw a car sitting in my living room.
That car was this Mustang. It burst into flames after crashing right into Bill's living room Monday night.
I was sitting on the couch and it hit the couch. So it pushed me off the couch. And it was inches from me.
Bill was in so much shock, he says he had an out-of-body experience.
Around to see, and I couldn't find myself, but still had no belief of what was going on until my neighbors were yelling at me, and that's kind of when I realized, hey, let's figure out a new plan here and get out of the house. And
there was no need to use the front door.
Ran out right over the rubble, which thank God I didn't cut up my feet on nails and stuff because I didn't have any shoes on or anything, sitting in my boxers.
When he stepped outside, he found his neighbors already in action.
I wasn't about to stand there and watch a guy burn to death.
The driver was trapped and unconscious.
I just had to cut him out of his seatbelt because if I didn't, he was going to die right there in the front yard.
Looking at the damage, Bill just can't believe the driver survived and he walked away without a scratch. Well, back live, you can see that the house is still boarded up tonight. Bill is just still standing there in disbelief. And I'm told that his 11-year-old daughter usually is at the house with him. Amazingly, I should say luckily, she was not there last night. As for this driver, police saying that they suspect that he was drunk and intoxicated, speeding down the street, and that's the reason he caused this crash. Reporting live tonight in Madison Heights, Jermont Terry, Local 4.
Good heavens. All right, Jermont. A big scare for flyers at Metro Airport.
Ahead at 5, what several pilots reported happening near the airport that made for extremely dangerous conditions just moments before landing. Ben?
Carmen, Mother Nature's had very little impact on our election in southeast Michigan so far, but we've got some more rain to go before the polls close. We'll look at the timing.
All right, Ben. Also talk about a difficult decision. New tonight, we're tagging along with a woman voting for the first time since becoming an American citizen. Nick?
A massive apartment fire in Auburn Hills destroys 15 units, but more importantly, destroys the lives of many. The good news, nobody was hurt, but everything they own is gone.
Decision. New at 6.
Dirty deals being done inside a local car wash. New at 6, we go inside the business to reveal what investigators discovered after weeks of surveillance.
And a reminder, we're keeping our eye on the polling places around Metro Detroit as voting enters its final few hours. When the precincts start reporting, you can see the results updating throughout the night right here on Local 4 and at clickondetroit.com.
In Auburn Hills this election day, there's something much more pressing on the minds of some.
Well, they're wondering how long until I can go back home. Several apartments were either destroyed or damaged by a massive fire this morning. And as our Nick Monticelli shows us, everyone is okay thanks to helpful neighbors. Nick?
Good evening. By all accounts, this was an extremely large fire coming at the worst time. About 4 o'clock this morning in the middle of the night, as many were still sleeping. So the residents inside were frantically knocking on doors, pounding on doors, trying to get people out alive.
The girl that lives in the unit where it started, she said her apartment was on fire, and I could see it through her door because her door was open.
That is how Robin Ekman woke up to a wall of fire sweeping through her apartment building. She and others frantically began waking others up.
Just pounding on doors. Just pounding on doors, and, you know, I didn't stop.
The backside of the building is where most of the damage is. Several units are destroyed. The fire started around 4 o'clock this morning. Investigators do not know yet what caused it.
When we walked out, all I heard was a girl screaming, "All my stuff, all my stuff."
Linda Norman did not waste a moment running out.
I looked out my balcony and like I said, I'd never seen a fire. I freaked. The flames were just shooting like, it was horrible.
The good news is the apartment management has vacant units to move people into. And the best news, no one was hurt.
It's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch. But again, all I can say is thank God that everybody's okay.
Now, as we mentioned, the property management company, they do have spots for the residents to go, so housing is not an issue. But the American Red Cross is still here trying to help with clothing, food, and everything else because many of the people here have lost everything. In Auburn Hills, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Boy, well, a firefighter from Auburn Hills fell and hurt his leg while fighting that fire. We're told it's a minor injury. And in all, a total of 20 apartments could be destroyed or damaged.
A lot of people had to contend with a little bit of rain today on this election day. And for those who haven't made it to the polls yet here, a little less than 3 hours to go. What have we got coming?
Well, there's going to be rain out there. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact because it's going to be in and out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But there are a couple spots where if you're going to be avoiding the showers, you may want to time your move to the polls based on this. So let's start first with the bigger batch. And that's a little bit further south in parts of Wayne County. In fact, we'll be seeing that if we could, guys, let's go to weather A. Are we there? Okay, thank you. Let's jump back here and we'll show you really quickly what we're talking about with this line of showers moving across Wayne County. Coming out of the airport right now, Taylor, Inkster towards Allen Park, Van Buren Township, you're getting wet as well. It's about a 10-mile wide swath and moving to the southeast at 30 miles an hour, so should only be around for about 20 minutes max. This one's a smaller round, but still some downpours right now on the shoreline of Lake St. Clair headed out towards the lake. Temperature-wise, we're beating the averages for this time in November, mid to upper 50s that are out there right now. So as the cold front slices through, there is going to be chillier air behind this. Still could be a lingering sprinkle tonight, but this is the last big push of moisture, and still there's not a whole lot there on that front. High pressure is going to settle in for the next several days. So once these sprinkles exit tonight after sunset, we're looking at dry conditions. It'll take us into Tuesday of next week. Temperatures are going to be all over the map, though, as you'll see here coming up in the 7-day forecast. So let's move on to tonight's forecast as we'll look at temperatures, which are going to drop to numbers right around 42 degrees, maybe a couple upper 30s in spots, but generally we are going to stay around 40 degrees tonight. Tomorrow's high temperatures in our 4-zone forecast in our metro zone right around 50 degrees, and that's going to be some of our warmest numbers. South of there, similar numbers across our south zone, 50 in Blissfield, 50 in Lambertville, and 49s on the edges of the zone. Everything gets cooler to the north. North of Michigan Avenue, 47 in Fenton and Flint, 49 in Canton tomorrow. And high temperatures in our north zone will be in the mid-40s, especially up in Sanilac County, which is going to be one of our cooler locations. Morning low temperatures 37 Thursday, but we are going to go sub-freezing for pretty much the entire area on Saturday. That'll be the first time we've been below freezing at Metro this season so far, but temperatures are up to 58. They're down into the 40s. They're back to the 50s. So keeping things interesting over the next 7 days, but dry conditions through Tuesday of next.
That's when everybody seems to get colds. Cold one day, hot the next, warm.
Can't get a pattern.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you've done this. Sent the reply all or sent an embarrassing email by accident to the wrong person. Well, Google wants to help you. The cool new tool they're rolling out that may just save the day. We'll explain coming up.
But first, a critical day set for tomorrow in the Charles Pugh case. That's next.
And the Help Me Hank volunteers are standing by to take your calls through 8 this evening when the polls close. If you spot any problems at the polls, call 313-298-WDIV and we'll check them out. We'll be back in a moment. Former Detroit City Council President Charles Pugh is expected to learn his fate tomorrow at his sentencing hearing. Well, last month, Pugh pleaded guilty to third-degree criminal sexual conduct. Prosecutors say the former city leader engaged in sexually inappropriate behavior with a 14-year-old boy back in 2003. Pugh is facing up to 15 years behind bars. Well, Google today rolling out an update to its Gmail mobile app. And it features a new undo send button. Well, just like it does on Gmail's desktop version, the button on the app will help prevent embarrassing email mistakes so that users will have an option to take back an email within 5 seconds after it's been sent and fix any errors. The update will also feature a swipe to archive or delete feature.
I'm not sure 5 seconds really covers most problems like that. It'll help a little, no doubt about it.
Well, it's a start.
Let's continue with the parade of people who have wanted to share their well wishes with my partner here. Here's one of everybody's favorite tigers.
I'd like to congratulate you, my dear Carmen, for your wonderful career. Not only the career that you had at the TV station, but the wonderful work that you did in the community in our city, Detroit. I'm going to like to wish you a healthy future. And also I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Detroit Tigers baseball game.
Well, now that I've got my own jersey with a
with the 4 on it,
and a 4 on it, I'll be wearing that too, Willie. Thank you so much.
You can make the afternoon games now too.
Oh, you're going to keep me busy, are you, Devin?
Back with more in just a minute.
New at 5:30.
Taking a stand when Carmen set aside her objective role and spoke as a citizen of Detroit and defender of her city. Difficult decision. This woman is voting for the first time as an American citizen. We tag along as she votes in one of America's most divisive elections.
Shining a laser into the cockpit on approach might seem like the work of kids playing a prank, but maybe not. Why what happened here last night is being taken very seriously by the FAA.
Tonight, live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
A dangerous prank. Pilots on final approach to Metro Airport say they had green lasers shined into the cockpit. That story tops our news today at 5:30. When a green laser is pointed at the cockpit of a plane, it can completely blind the pilot.
Doesn't seem to matter how many times we say how dangerous it is, it continues to happen. Just last night, number of pilot reports of a green laser being shined at them. Let's get to Jason Colthorpe. Have they figured out yet where it might have come from, Jason?
Well, it's an open investigation, Devin, but I get the sense that they do not. And for a couple of reasons, pilots have a hard time focusing on where this is actually coming from because they're focused on the runway, number one, and number two, their instinct is to look away because these lasers can damage the eye. And of course, that's one big reason why the FAA is taking this very seriously. And of course, the other being that someone is trying to distract a guy that's trying to land a plane with hundreds of people. The FAA confirms several planes on approach were the targets of lasers last night. They were green, just like this one that flashed at Sky 4 last month over Southfield.
That was most intense that someone's tried to flash the lights in the 6 years I've been up here.
You can see just how distracting it can be. One commercial airline pilot tells me it lights up the entire cockpit and it's pretty distracting.
I think it's stupid. They don't understand the consequences of what could happen. It's just so dangerous.
Kelly Sutphin and her husband just put their daughter on a plane to Australia, and she finds any added distraction to the pilot worrisome.
Very worrisome. I mean, whether you're putting family on there or your own lives, on the line, it's people not paying attention to what they're doing to other people or the consequences of their actions.
The legal consequences can be an $11,000 federal fine plus jail time with local charges.
Don't do it. Don't be foolish. Be smart. Think of other people's lives.
Unfortunately, too often, whoever's behind this doesn't do this. Now, again, the pilot I talked to tells me that protocol is to report this to the FAA controller. And when it's happened to him, he's done that every time. But he tells me he's never heard of them closing a case and finding one of these people who have been shining these lasers up at pilots. We're live at Metro today. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Jason, anything in the case involving Sky 4?
There is a little bit of new information on that, Devin. They have identified a suspect, according to Southfield Police, and it's actually an adult. You might think that these are always kids in these cases, but they say this is an adult male, was a guy traveling out of town. They're not for sure because they haven't been able to interview him yet because he's out of town. But that is moving forward, and that could end up being in the case, the hands of the feds or local authorities too, Devin.
Interesting. All right, Jason. Kim?
Thanks, Devin. Well, this is Sona Kakar. And after watching from the sidelines for the past few years, this will be her first time voting as a U.S. citizen. It's currently a difficult decision in any election, but we all know that this year is even harder. So let's bring in Priya Mann. And Priya, although she wasn't excited about either candidate, this was a crucial milestone here.
And Kimberly, you know, Sona was too young to vote when she lived in India. She couldn't vote for her time here in the States. Well, that all changed today. And as you mentioned, she wasn't really excited about either candidate, but she says voting is a crucial milestone.
I feel good. I feel like an adult now. I feel I was seeing the world now.
This journey to the voting booth has taken more than a decade for Sona Kakar.
This was the first time I could actually vote as an American citizen here.
Sona was born in India and immigrated to America 11 years ago. She became a citizen in January. The 26-year-old has watched 2 presidential elections, but this time she got to participate.
It's a different feeling, but I like it now. It's like I'm more connected to America now.
Sona says she was surprised when she walked into her polling station in Commerce Township.
Because I've seen people voting in India and there are lines outside, people are waiting to vote, but this time there was no line in there. I just walked in, I voted and came out.
Although this is her first time voting, Sona says she was disappointed with her choices.
You just don't feel connected with either of them. I think that's the main reason I wasn't excited. Oops.
It's been a long road to get here. Sona and her mom are opening their own beauty salon in Commerce Township and say they're living the American dream.
I don't want people to say, oh, she's still a foreigner. I'm an American. I live here, I work here, and I voted today.
And election officials say the turnout here at this polling station in Commerce Township has been huge today. So far, about 900 people have voted here, and there has been a steady stream in the short time that we have been here. And again, polls close at 8 p.m., but if you're in line before polls close, you will be allowed to vote. Reporting live from Commerce Township, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
And Priya, as for Sona, I would imagine she'll be watching the results tonight.
You know, Kimberly, she said at first she wasn't going to watch the results because she wasn't thrilled with either candidate, but now that she's voted, she feels like she has a stake in the game, so she'll be tuning in.
Very good. Okay, good luck to her and her beauty salon as well. All right, Priya, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, let's now dig a little deeper into the numbers. When it comes to battleground Michigan, there are key counties that both sides need to win in order to take the state, which of course now looms so large in the national picture. Who better to show us how it all works than the man behind all of our Local 4 polling, Richard Zuba, CEO of the Glenn Gariff Group. Richard, play it out for us. What are you looking at tonight?
Well, first and foremost, for the Trump campaign, if they're going to win this, they've got to start here in Macomb County and win big and win this entire 10th congressional district. It was his home base for the primary. But here, Kent and Ottawa counties, they need to come out of this with at least a 120,000 vote margin if they're going to win Michigan.
You and I talked yesterday about how you thought it was very slick that that's where Hillary Clinton focused her last Michigan visit last night, was the west side of the state.
That's exactly
rather than here.
If she can tamp down that margin, it makes it harder for Donald Trump. Now, granted, all this is Trump territory also, but the population isn't big. For the Democrats, for Hillary Clinton, Wayne County. What kind of margin does she walk out of Wayne County with? John Kerry walked out with a 320,000 vote margin, Barack Obama a 380,000 vote margin. She needs to be in that range, and then Washtenaw and Ingham. Those are very important because those are the universities. It tells us how Michigan State and Michigan are voting.
It's funny, on the national map, we see narrow strips really where Hillary Clinton is and then Donald Trump has the middle. It kind of works the same way in a way with the state of Michigan, doesn't it?
It sure does. Yeah. And then, of course, if you really want to watch what's happening in Michigan, just look at Kalamazoo County right there. They are the predictor of the state, not only the winner for the last almost 30 years, but the margin of victory for the winner.
What is that? That's a bit of a change. That's not generally the one we call our bellwether county in Michigan. What's changed?
Well, Kalamazoo County is the microcosm of Michigan. It has a university, it has auto plants, it has a city, it has suburbs, it has rural areas. It is Michigan in miniature. and it works very well.
I've talked to a number of Democrats over the past couple of weeks who have sort of had to be reminded that Hillary Clinton did not carry the state in the primary. It was Bernie Sanders' country, and trying to convert all of those Bernie Sanders supporters has not been a layup.
No, and if you notice the areas where she did very poorly, she didn't do well in Washtenaw, she didn't do well over here in the primary. So going over to West Michigan was both offensive and defensive to keep those Bernie Sanders people on board.
Yeah. All right, more from Richard, obviously coming up throughout the evening. Let's get another update now from Steve Garagiola. Steve?
As results come in tonight, you're going to want information from basically 3 areas. You're going to want national results, statewide results, and what's going on in your community. The good news is it's all in one place at clickondetroit.com. Come on, let me show you. Okay, this is the main page setup at Click on Detroit. You want to start with national results? You start right down here. Here you'll find a tally of the electoral votes in the presidential race, what's happening with congressional races, and controversial issues in other states like legalizing marijuana and gun control. Okay, we're back on the main page. You want results from your county, your community? Open this up right here. Here you'll find a link to every Metro Detroit county, local issues from school boards and commissioners to millages, judges, and proposals. Back on our main page, the webcast goes up at 7 p.m. You can access that right here. What's it about? Let's go find out. The webcast will happen down here in the newsroom. Guy Gordon will host this. Guy, what do we got tonight?
Is healing possible? Why did Michigan vote the way it did? Regional transit, Wayne County millage, new school board for Detroit, community benefits agreements. We've got it all.
Make sure you have the Click on Detroit app on your smartphone. Election results update automatically all night. You don't have to do a thing. You can follow it all right here on Click on Detroit until every race is decided. In the newsroom, I'm Steve Garagiola, Local 4.
Okay, Steve, we appreciate it. Be sure to polish off all those resumes. That's because DDOT is hosting a recruiting event to hire 100 bus drivers. The event is slated to happen on Thursday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It'll be at the Wayne County Community College Eastern Campus, and that's located in the 59,000 block of Connor near I-94.
I'd just like to be one of the folks answering the customer service lines at Samsung for the last couple of months.
Haven't they been in a mess?
Well, believe it or not, the exploding phones may be the least of Samsung's worries.
Yeah, we'll have that coming up. Plus, new tonight, what had authorities storming into their world headquarters, and they are demanding answers.
Also, they're going to be able to do a whole lot more than just help you see. Coming up in Good Health, the space-age technology coming to contact lenses that will help people suffering an often debilitating disease.
But first, she didn't do it often, but when she did, Metro Detroit really listened. How Carmen Harlan set aside her objective role and took a stand when we needed it most. That's coming up next.
On the next live.
New at 6.
If you're watching me right now, you still have time to vote. But what if you are in the hospital and it's election day? What do? I will show you.
We're celebrating Carmen and her 38 years here at Local 4. During that time, she not only earned the trust of viewers like you, she kept it. Now, she only rarely weighed in on issues, but as we look back on her career, there is one moment that stands out for many when she spoke out about former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick.
A lot of strategic meetings are in my home or in her home, so yes, I've been there several times.
It was not Detroit's finest moment. Awash in a sea of incriminating text messages, the city's young mayor was drowning in tawdry headlines. He had had an affair with his chief of staff, but worse, they had lied about it under oath. And it seemed an $8.5 million settlement had been paid out to keep it quiet.
I truly apologize to each and every one of you individually and to the whole city.
Carmen seldom waded into editorial waters, perhaps because she only occasionally offered them. Her opinions carried a lot of weight when she aired them. Around here, we call them Carmentaries, and the most memorable Carmentary of all came the night of August 7th, 2008.
This is like a bad movie that just won't end. We can't take it anymore, and neither can you, Mr. Mayor.
The fact that she had the guts to, raise her hand and say, not ready for prime time anymore was huge.
Because of the trust that people have had in her over the years, they knew that when Carmen Harlan got upset about it. Oh, it's going down. It's really serious.
Carmen had seen enough, and she told the once so promising Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick to step aside.
We need you to go home. Make things right in your home. We need you to resign immediately.
She had had enough, and she spoke for many when she spoke that night, and I think it was one of the most powerful moments I can remember in my lifetime.
It was about a month later, as part of a plea deal, Kilpatrick resigned and went to jail.
Well, it sort of reminded me of the story back in the 60s when Lyndon Johnson, when Walter Cronkite came back from Vietnam and said it's time for us to get out. And Lyndon Johnson said, if I've lost Walter Cronkite, I've lost the country. Well, if you've lost Carmen Harlan, you've lost Detroit.
What a great analogy.
It says it all. It really does. You remember much about those
You know,
couple
I
of weeks?
definitely, I heard about it certainly from my family.
Sure.
People in the community.
The New York Times mentioned it.
New York Times mentioned it. And also Kilpatrick wrote it in a memoir of his too, and he called me a seasoned reporter. But it was really more about the city and what was in the best interest of the city. So it wasn't targeted so much at him, but it was what was best for Detroit so that we could move forward.
Well, everybody else was feeling it, and you just, you said it.
I just put it into words.
You absolutely did.
And not the first.
Can I go now?
You can go. I know. How much of this adulation can you handle? This is awful.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I hope 4 more
Just a
days.
few more days.
Anyway, yes. Okay. More coming up as we continue our celebration of Carmen, who, of course, her last day is coming up this Friday. We'll see you again back here at 6. In Good Health, it's a new invention that could change the way diabetics track their glucose levels.
Researchers at Oregon State University have created glucose measuring sensors. They can be worn in both prescription and non-prescription contact lenses. Instead of measuring blood glucose levels in a person's blood, the sensors measure the levels in a person's tears, then sends the information to that person's insulin pump or cell phone. Development of the lenses is still in the early stages.